Well. So this past Friday, Tyson announced that they were going to be closing a factory in Lexington, Nebraska that employs 3,200 workers. Because I think it's incredibly important to keep track of these things, a reminder that 72% of people in Dawson County, Nebraska voted for Donald Trump, and they voted for this to happen to themselves. And the reality is you probably voted just so that Riley Gaines could feel vindicated for finishing tied for 5th place. Not that we need further proof to explain why Donald Trump's trade and economic policies are disastrous for this country. This is actually real-time results. Starting on November 13th, where Trump announced that he is going to be rolling back tariffs on a wide range of agricultural products, including certain beef items. You can see this on the official whitehouse.gov website. The president has thus determined that certain agricultural products shall no longer be subject to the reciprocal tariffs. I'm sorry, wasn't this the foundation of the entire campaign that he ran on? Beef has its own little bullet point. And Trump justifies this by saying it is a move aimed at easing high prices and meeting domestic demand. Let's put a pin in that. You've got his reciprocal tariffs that are driving up prices for the American consumer, but demand still exists. However, people don't want to pay the higher prices, so he removes the tariffs on the international imports of beef. And what the president is effectively saying when he does this is American products and domestically made things are too expensive. Corporations can't make profits if they rely on domestically produced goods, and Trump loves free trade capitalism, so this is what happens. Senator Deb Fischer of Nebraska says basically, this is awful and will have devastating results. Well, it's a good thing you just raise healthcare premiums for your constituents. Representative Mike Flood says our cattle ranchers are being abandoned. Well, Trump basically said this back in February during his State of the Union address, where he said, ranchers, farmers, I love you. You're going to go through pain, but it'll be worth it, and I love you. Governor Jim Pollan said there's plenty of opportunities for our cattle rancher farmers. Well, glass half full, I guess. This is a perfect example of how to combat the number one thing that MAGA says when it comes to the tariffs. If tariffs are bad, then why do other countries do it? Tariffs aren't bad. The EU uses tariffs very strategically. They use them, though, to protect their domestic manufacturers and industries. By putting tariffs on beef imports, it actually allows our cattle ranchers and our beef industries to be able to compete with the pricing from the other countries. When you lift the tariffs, then we rely on the foreign imports. The president just traded off our cattle ranchers in Nebraska for Brazil, Canada, Mexico, and you guessed it, Argentina. So a reminder to 72% of you in Dawson County, you absolutely voted for this.
My good Lord. The amount of times we have to cover farmers going through this and having to learn their lesson is ridiculous. Nebraska, how you doing, girl? We told you were in trouble. Fox will tell them, shush, shush, this is Biden's fault. That's why Canadians keep tariffs on their dairy, because without it, our dairy farmers would be out of business from international dairy farmers. They are tools to protect important industries in your country. The problem is when you blanket them on everything without strategy or thought, which we know Trump was doing. Tariffs, reciprocal tariffs, removes reciprocal tariffs. Welcome to idiocracy.
So I'm in Argentina, in cattle country, a couple hours outside Buenos Aires. I'm at a small ranch, which is actually a breeding operation. They help other bigger ranches improve the genetic stock of their cattle. And I interviewed the owner of this operation, whose name is Martin Vivanco, and he said that he's thrilled about the idea of the U.S. dramatically increasing imports of Argentinian beef, which is something Donald Trump has said he wants to do. Martin said that that would be really good for business and that Argentinian beef producers have for a long time aspired to a bigger share of the American market. He also said something else interesting, which is that the beef that's produced here that goes back to the States is not generally mass market stuff that winds up on supermarket shelves. It's really high quality cuts that go to restaurants and caterers, hotels, high-end buyers. And that's because the beef here is just really high quality. It's all like this, like what you see behind me, free-range, grass-fed. The conditions here are perfect for raising really high quality cattle. So it's not likely that these increased exports from here to the US are actually going to really help the American consumer that much. They'll definitely help Argentinian cattle ranchers and exporters. On the other hand, U.S. cattle ranchers are very much not happy about this idea, and my colleague Rosa Flores has been talking to some of them in Nebraska.
I'm Rosa Flores in Hershey, Nebraska. I spoke with 5 cattle ranchers in this area. They're all Republican. They all support President Donald Trump, and they say that they support a lot of his policies. They believe in America first, but they say that they don't agree with the president on everything. In fact, if I were to summarize all the conversations I had into one message from these cattle ranchers, I would say that they believe that the federal government should stay out of their business. They believe in free enterprise.
I agree with him on a lot of his issues, but on this issue, I would disagree with trying to, obviously do anything to lower the price of beef to the beef producers. On the other side of it, you would like to see, a cheaper food supply for the consumer, but not necessarily at the expense of the producer.
So in essence, President Trump don't interfere in the market?
Well, we don't. We appreciate all he does, but being in the market is probably not something we're very anxious to have the government in.
Some Republican lawmakers use the words strongly concerned to describe this move by the president. There's a rancher in Wyoming who used the word betrayed. The ranchers that I talked to here in Nebraska say that's too strong of a word. They say they would use disagreement. They say they don't have beef with the president. They just disagree with him on this.
These guys are so worried about the words that are being used when yet their business is being impacted. Bro, I'll use everything in the dictionary if I could. They agree with Trump while he's hurting others, but not when he hurts them. Got it. Dear Nebraska ranchers, with the smallest violin, guess Trump's plan is to beef up the economy, but not for the ranchers. You're foul for that one.
President Trump has really got to think about it. Who put him in office? The American rancher, the rural farmer, by a widespread margin, voted for President Trump. And I really think he needs to listen to him.
Now, the only price we have that's high is beef, and we'll get that down. And one of the things we're thinking about doing is beef from Argentina.
Some farmers are calling the move a betrayal of the American rancher.
The traders on the market use this as an excuse to drive the feeder cattle board down and live cattle board down. What that did essentially is it trickled back into the local auction markets. It took billions of dollars out of the hands, out of the pockets of the cow-calf producers in the United States. Speaking for us personally, it cost us a couple $100,000 in valuation.
Looks like we've lost around $200 a head in value. That would be around a $17 billion hit. This is at a time when these producers were getting close to being profitable after decades of losing money and losing equity.
It's the first time they've made money in a long time. It's the first time they've been in the black. And to have that rug pulled out from under them while they're getting their loans paid down and everything else is a pretty tough blow for them.
One thing President Trump is admitting to is the high price of beef. And he just posted, I've asked the DOJ to immediately begin an investigation into the meatpacking companies who are driving up the price of beef through illicit collusion.
Doesn't this sound like we're in 2023, 2024, when Joe Biden was talking about exactly the same thing?
I think everybody needs to understand that the cattle industry and the beef industry are two separate things. And the big packers that control the beef industry, they set the price really, and they are driving this with their imports.
They have all the controlling contracts with the Walmarts, the Safeways. So when you get an independent producer trying to sell meat to one of those places, they can't get into that marketplace.
They'll force the little guy to leverage themselves to the hilt, and then they pull the rug out from underneath him and the little guy goes broke. It's a game plan we've seen before. It's a game plan we'll see again.
Meat packers are selling box beef higher to the retailer, who in turn is charging America's consumers record high prices for beef at the retail level.
The price of cattle has absolutely nothing to do with the price of beef. It sounds silly, but that's exactly what it is.
Someone's like, why would he listen to farmers? They keep voting for him anyway. Biden-Harris subsidized family and small business farms, and they thought Trump would continue that, but it's not America first. His rich Americans first. Hope they see this now. People think it's left versus right, but it's Americans versus Americans. Which one are you? Class solidarity is mandatory. Couldn't agree with you more. And I like how you play with the words right there.
I'm afraid I have bad news for all the farmers that voted for Donald Trump. Many of them a third time. This is specifically for the cattle farmers. Donald Trump is not coming to save you. He took you down, just like he did his first 4 years as president. As a matter of fact, the last time bankruptcies with cattle farmers were this high was Donald Trump's last year in office. He hurt farmers so badly his first 4 years that your tax dollars and my tax dollars had to come bail the farmers out. So here he is again. He's taken more down than he ever has before. Bankruptcies for cattle farmers has skyrocketed. Beef prices are at record highs. And now, as consumers, what we're having to deal with is quality of beef issues because Donald Trump's administration laid off a shit ton of regulators that enforce food quality safety. They're using meat fillers that are like a consistency of pate. There's tumors and cysts that are making it into the beef through the food processing plants. This is the kind of stuff that happens when you have a reduction in regulators. And Donald Trump this time around, after battering the cattle farmers, came back and gave Argentina $20 million and then followed up a couple weeks later with another $20 million to help them with their beef sales. Not you, cattle farmers, not you. And I'm here to say he's not coming to help you because he's mired. He's buried. His whole administration is buried in the Jeffrey Epstein emails that are coming out. His attention is elsewhere. Don't look for any help.
I hope the Republicans never get into office ever again after this administration is gone. A lot of people feel the same way. Sometimes you don't live and learn. Yeah, I guess so. So I guess these farmers have to take it belt to ass right away from Trump. But guys, let me know what your thoughts are. With all the cattle farmers being affected all across America, well, all of them are definitely struggling with the change in policies that Trump has thrown in, importing more beef from Argentina, lifting tariffs. Just not a good time for a lot of these farmers. Leave your comments down below and let me know what your thoughts are. If it's your first time to the channel, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. It really does help the channel. Also, if you haven't, check out this video. I'm sure you're definitely going to enjoy it. But nevertheless, I will see you guys when I see you. Peace.